Welcome to Spiritual Selling 2.0. I want to thank you so much for choosing to spend some time with me here today. I'm Joe Nunziata. I'm the author of Spiritual Selling. And today I want to share with you some powerful concepts and principles that you'll be able to use in your business, also in your personal life, to create better energy and results. I like to get right into it. I don't want to waste your time. I know it's very valuable. So let's jump in and get started right now so we can get you moving. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the idea of what this is. What is spiritual selling? What does this mean? I'll get into how I came about this in a little while, but I just want to give you a quick overview of what this is and how it works. So basically what spiritual selling is combining powerful energy principles with proven sales and marketing strategies. So what we want to do is we want to blend these two things together so that we can utilize everything, not just your skill set, but also your energy, and understand how these two things must work together for you to be successful and for you to create the kind of success you desire. So before we get rolling here, I just want to tell you a little bit about me and how I got to do this work, because, again, it's not an everyday thing, and believe me, I'm the last person in the world who ever thought that I would be doing this. So I'm originally from Williamsburg, Brooklyn. If you can see my nice picture there of the old neighborhood, which back in the day when I was there was basically a middle class, lower middle class area. It ended up becoming very she as time has gone by. And that's me when I was probably about 18 years old or so, kind of getting myself started in my disco days. And again, growing up in New York, that's what we did. We went out there and had a good time. And you can see I have a Budweiser truck there. And my first job out of high school was actually driving and delivering Budweiser beer. Now, my dad was a New York City narcotics detective. He started as a cop and became a detective, and he ended up passing on the job when I was 12 years old. We had some financial issues. I was the oldest boy. I grew up Catholic. I grew up Italian. I grew up with a lot of guilt. So I felt like I had to get to work and I had to get out there and get started. So I got a job delivering beer. I was actually making pretty good money, but I was always very entrepreneurial and wanted to do more. So I decided, I was 19, and I said, I saw guys who had their own route. So they were able to deliver the product, but they were making all the money because they owned the truck and they owned the route. So I went out and I got a loan. My mom co-signed it for me, and I bought a soda delivery business. And this to me was the beginning of my empire. I was going to start very young, get out there, get moving, and get it going right away. So I go out there into a very dangerous neighborhood in Brooklyn. Didn't realize it at the time. I was blinded by ambition and ego and everything else. End up having a rough time, getting beat up, held up, whole story. I have it all in the book, but I don't want to get into the whole thing now. But ended up basically going bankrupt when I was 20. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I still owed money to the bank. So I go out and I get a job in New York City as a bartender. So I'm working in nightclubs and bars in New York. And I have to tell you, I made really good money. I was able to pay back the loan that I had for my mom and was having a great time. Ended up moving into Lower Manhattan. I was in the Village area, if you know New York, Greenwich Village. And I really thought that I was going to go into this business because I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I was young. I liked being out. I was very sociable. So that's what I did. I thought that's what I'd end up doing. I ended up managing a couple of places, and a few opportunities didn't work out. And I was still I was still in my early 20s. And I said, well, maybe this is not the path. I was always a student of business. I was always very interested in, entrepreneurship and being in business. So I decided to go into sales. So I get a job in sales. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I go out and I go into a training. I ended up selling advertising at a local newspaper, and I got into sales and did very well, actually. I went through the training. And one of the things that I realized was working in hospitality or working as a bartender was really great for sales, because I was very comfortable talking to strangers. It wasn't something that was intimidating to me. And that's why whenever I was hiring or working in corporations, I really looked at it and said, I loved people who came out of that hospitality world because they were really great. They were always, like I said, very loose and doing a great job. So I go into sales. I start selling advertising space at a local paper. I'm having a great time. I'm making some good money. Again, get this entrepreneurial bug, decide to start another business, which was going to be a direct mail business, direct mail marketing, and that didn't work out. I ended up going bankrupt the second time by the time I was about 30, and then went back into corporate selling and kind of went back into that world. Now, when I started, I didn't know what I was doing. I really didn't know anything about sales and how it really worked in a corporate environment or a structured environment. So I was taught to use manipulation and what I would consider to be hardcore tactics. Again, you have no point of reference. For me, I didn't know if that was right, wrong, good, bad. That's just what they taught us to do, and that's what I did. But after a while, it started to wear on me. It was like, be a closer, get out there. You've got to close every deal, and the numbers are the only thing that's important. And so as I was getting more into it, I started to say, this is not resonating for me anymore. I'm starting to have an issue with this whole tactic and forcing people and so forth. So basically what we were doing, and this is something in economic theory, and it's called a zero-sum game. So in a zero-sum game, the way it works is it's a win or lose. It's basically a black and white thing. Either you get the deal or you don't get the deal and you lose. So it's a win, lose, black and white, no in between situation. And this is something that also bothered me because I did not see it that way. Because sometimes, you don't make a deal, or sometimes you can help somebody in a different way, or who knows what happens. So all of this is going on, and I'm kind of, going through this, and I'm back in corporate, and I end up being a salesman and did well, and then end up in management. And all this time, going back from when I was young, I was very interested in personal development and personal growth, and wound up going into psychology. Actually went to therapy for a while, but then started to really learn a lot about how your mind works, and started to learn a lot about the way that your belief system and your mind, and that led me into learning about energy and something called chakras. So if you're not familiar with chakras, chakra is a Sanskrit Indian word. It means wheel. And we have energy points in our body that we hold on to. And these energy points vibrate out and basically create your life. This is the whole premise of law of attraction and how that works. And I was basically starting to blend these principles into with my sales team, first with myself and then with my sales team, and started to see some good results. It was like, wow, this is a little different, trying to approach this a little bit of a different way. So this led me to develop something called the attractor sales system. And the attractor sales system was about attracting people in that were the right people for you to do business with and to be involved with. Now, back then, I didn't have a name for it. I didn't know what I was doing, but it was something that I was utilizing. And I ended up, when I wrote the book, I coined this phrase of attractor sales system. And that's kind of what I ended up trademarking and using when I get into the book. So one of the things I just want to make a point of here, and I'll jump back on with you just for a second, is your energy is so critically important to your success, and understanding what's going on and what you're attracting and bringing in is a big deal. So before I continue here, I just want to make sure I put that out there on a line and you understand how critically important this is as you go forward. So let's keep rolling along here. Now, when I said, get you done in a judicious way. So back in 2000, so I come out of corporate. I'm there for quite a while. I end up coming out of corporate. I started my own business, started consulting, which is the business I have now, and doing speaking and training. And then I wrote a couple of books, and then ended up writing Spiritual Selling, the original version, which came out in 2007 with Wiley, which is a large publisher. And the book did pretty well, although it was a little early. I think some people thought I had lost my mind, which was fine. I was okay with that. But came out, became an Amazon bestseller, did well, was there for years. A couple of years back, I ended up getting a notice from them, and they said, we're going to give the rights of the book back to you. I don't know what happened or why, but I said, okay, thanks. But what that meant was the book was then off the market. The only book available would be the original Spiritual Selling and whatever was left from that. And people started saying, it would be a great idea. Why don't you do an updated version? So I decided, it took me a couple of years, and then COVID happened, and I had more time. I said, let me start working on this. So I rewrote the book, basically added 4 new chapters and updated the rest of the book, and was ready to re-release it now as Spiritual Selling 2.0, which is just coming out. So this is, again, the principles are basically the same. I just updated what was there and gave you some new information. And that's kind of the evolution of how spiritual selling came. And I will tell you that now in 2023, all these years later, the world is very different. And back in 2007, I was in New York and, talking about this to business people, they thought I was crazy. But now we're coming into a different time, and these old ways of operating are no longer going to be successful. So we have to look at a new way to go forward. So one of the new things I added here was something called E squared. So E squared is combining energy and expertise. So we want to combine these two things together. And again, these are two things that people normally don't think of. They don't think of energy and sales and business going together, although now we're getting into a much better place. So the way it works here is, let me talk about what E squared is. And your energy is on one side, your expertise is on the other, but we're going to blend them. So what's part of your energy? What is part of that part of the equation? So the first part is, how do you feel? How you feel is very important, because how you feel vibrates out and creates your experience. So this is critically important. What you believe, you have to remember, your belief system is so powerful, and whatever you believe is true. There is no right, wrong, good, bad. There's just what you believe. And we have to evaluate your belief system so you understand what you believe you can do and accomplish and create. That's a big part of it. The other thing is the energy you are projecting. So as I said earlier, with this chakra system, you're holding energy and you're projecting it out. As you're projecting it out, it is bringing things in. As I said, this is that whole law of attraction thing, but you have to understand it's not conscious. You're not consciously projecting out things, you're unconsciously doing it. And you have to understand what it is that you're really sending out there, not what your brain is going to say. Because you'll always think in your mind, yeah, I'm positive. Yeah, I'll do. And I've seen people who are the most positive people in the world, or they come out there and they put on that front, but they're not feeling it. And that's a big difference. Your feeling of worthiness is another major thing, because do you feel worthy to receive? Obviously, this was a big obstacle for me, because you don't go bankrupt twice if you feel worthy, right? You don't struggle if you feel worthy of receiving. That was a very big issue for me to work through as I was moving forward. And then finally, you want to look at, what are you attracting right now? Because what you're attracting in the life you've created is based on how you feel about yourself at this moment. So look at yourself right now, and this is all part of your energy side. Now, on the expertise side, we want to look at, we still have to be able to function and operate here in the physical world. So I have to be able to do that, right? So I need process and systems. This is a critical area, and I see this not only with small business owners, but I also see this with larger companies that are broken. Even though they may be making money, there's a lot of broken processes and systems that they are not utilizing correctly. The other thing in sales, obviously, product knowledge. I have to know what I'm talking about. So I need some knowledge of what I'm doing. And again, we're always evolving in that area. Then we get into some things that are really important. Presentation skills. Are you able to present what it is that you have to offer in an effective manner, which leads us into communication and listening skills. Presenting, just because you can sit there and present it, doesn't mean you're communicating effectively, and doesn't mean you're listening. You have to pay attention. One of the real downfalls of salespeople is they're always talking and they're not listening for what the prospect is really asking for. And we kind of get stuck sometimes in one area and we don't effectively listen. So that's a critical piece of the puzzle. And one of the things that of course is, to me, always important in life in general, is being consistent. Consistency is the key. You're not always going to be successful. You're going to go through ups and downs. You're going to go through some bad streaks. The bottom line is, are you consistently out there doing what you're doing? I remember, being grown up in New York, being a New York Yankee fan. I remember one year, Derek Jeter, the great Hall of Famer, started out the season really poorly. And, we went through a good month or over a month and into the season, and people, oh, what's wrong with Derek Jeter? Why is he not hitting? And what's not going? Why is he playing poorly? And they would ask him the question. He said, listen, I just keep doing what I'm doing. I know that as long as I stay with it, I will be back to where I'm supposed to be. Just whatever's happening it's just not clicking. So he just eventually stayed with it and ended up having a great season. And again, just because that consistency factor, that is a very critical piece of what we need to go forward. So the thing is, your focus is critically important. And you want to be focusing on what it is that you want to create. Now, there's a distinction between what you want to create and what you want to sell. So I want you to think of yourself more as a creator. This is a very big part of what we're doing here at a higher level. I'm not just selling, I'm creating something. I'm creating different energy. I'm creating something that is helping people. These are things that are very important, and it creates a different energy vibration as we go forward. So focus on what is it that you want to create, not do, not sell, but create. Then one of the exercises I always like to go through with people is paint your picture. What does that mean? Paint your picture means I want to, let me jump on with you for a minute here. Paint your picture means this. It means, what do I want my life to look like? And again, your picture will be different than my picture. You know, my picture was different. Years ago, I started writing down what I want to look like. And I remember even all those years ago saying, oh, I want to be able to work from home. I want to have a flexible schedule. I want to speak. I want to write books. I want to help people. I want to do training. I knew like what my picture was. And because I had this clear vision of the picture, I was able to create that life. So have a picture in your mind. You may want to write it down. Here's a picture, person actually painting a picture, but you want to look at it and say, how do I have a picture? Do I have that clear picture? Okay, so again, this is important because we want to make sure we're working both ends, the energy and again, the expertise. So let me take you through 5 keys to unlimited success. And these are keys that will help you bring your life forward, your business forward, and everything. And again, I know we love steps and things like this, so which is why I love to do it this way, because I feel like people really remember it and it resonates as we go forward. And let's get to number 1. So number 1, which I always find interesting, is understand what you are selling. What are you really selling? One of the things I go through in the book and the program I have is really asking people, what are you selling? What are you selling? And every time I work with a client, I'll say, what are you selling? So when you think about it and you say to yourself, look at big companies, and they understand this, right? So when you look at a company, and I'm going to give you, these are not about whether you like these businesses or not, but it's really about understanding what they do. So McDonald's, when you look at McDonald's, and you may say to yourself, oh, McDonald's, they sell food, they sell hamburgers, they sell whatever, they sell a lot of stuff. But what is it that they're really selling? And what McDonald's is selling, and they know this, they're not selling food. They are selling a consistent experience. They are selling an experience that every single time I go to McDonald's, I get the same experience. Now, think about this when you're dealing with other businesses or people you know, right? They're late, they don't show up. I go to a restaurant. Oh, one time it was good, one time it was bad. These are things that are very important to understand. This is what I'm selling. When people say to me, what do you sell, Joe? You sell training, you sell coaching. I said, no, I don't sell books and training and coaching. That's what I have. But the feeling I'm selling is hope. Because you're saying, hey, I'm going to work with this guy and I'm hoping that this is going to help me improve. And this was me when I was out working with different people, whether it was with energy or with business. It's like, that's what I'm selling. So you want to understand that. When people talk about training and they say, oh, you're selling training. I said, no. I said, first of all, understand it's not training, it's entertainment. Because if it's not interesting and engaging, it doesn't work. It could be the greatest information in the world, but it doesn't work. So that's number 1, understanding what you're really selling. The second thing is you've got to know your benefit. So what is it about what you're offering? I don't even use the word selling, tell you the truth. I like to just say, this is what I'm offering. And what is it about what you offer that makes it special, makes it beneficial? What are you going to do to help me? You have to understand that going out there and just trying to sell something is not what it's about. It's about understanding the benefit that you offer. And this is really important, especially now, because we're dealing in markets where people can go out and find information and determine who they want to work with and do research. Or if I'm buying a car, you're going into a place and saying, hey, do I like this dealership? I can get the car probably at the same price anywhere. or I can get a computer anywhere, or I can get these different things. Where do I see the benefit? This company treats me better. I'll pay a little bit extra because the benefit that they offer is different. So what is the benefit? First of all, what do I get? Determine that. See, so when I work with people, it's like, hey, you're going to get a better business. You're going to be more successful. You're going to create more income. And not only that, I'm going to help you de-stress, and I'm going to help you create a better life. It's not just about becoming more successful financially. It's about becoming a better person. It's about creating a better life, right? That's a much better benefit than just saying, oh yeah, you're going to make more money. So understand your benefit. You want to sit down, write it down, write some ideas down. This is going to be the best way for you to kind of get a better handle on what is your benefit for the market. Now, this is my favorite one. I put it right here in the middle, which is identify and remove your unconscious blocks and limiting beliefs. This is the whole game right here. Now, you could have a great product. You could have a great service. You could do a great presentation. You could know everything about it. You could have good benefits. If you are blocked in this area and you have unconscious blocks or beliefs that are not letting you go forward, and I will tell you this, I have seen this over and over and over again. It's one of the things that really breaks my heart, especially when I go into sales organizations and I see people working really, really hard and they're unable to really break through and be successful. And it's not because they're not working hard. It's not because they're not smart. It's not because they're not dedicated. It's because there's something internal that they have not removed. I go through this in more detail, but in the program and in the books. But the bottom line is this. You want to look and say, this is what I'm creating. And if it's not working, that means there's something within me that I'm not feeling. I'm not feeling deserving. I'm not feeling worthy. Or I don't see myself in that, in being successful, or what that looks like, or what that feels like. There's also a big issue of being afraid of it. So there's a lot of different things that we want to work on. And this, by the way, this is a moving target. And this is something that we're always working on. So just to give you a quickie here, I just want to jump back in. This is something, it's not like saying, oh, you know what? I took a class, I cleared all my blocks, and I'm good. No, this is ongoing. So you're constantly dealing with issues and different things. And as you continue to elevate, the bottom line is it just gets easier to do it if you have a process to clear these blocks. I do have all this. We don't have time to do this here, but I have all this information, like I said, in the book, in other work. And I also have a YouTube channel, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. But this is the key right here. And again, it's an everyday process, and it doesn't have to be grueling. It doesn't have to be horrible. It's just elevating awareness and then dealing with issues and moving forward. So don't sleep on this. This is going to be a really important part of how you go forward. So again, I know I get a little crazy here because I'm very passionate about this part. This is another one, number 4, ask for and receive help. A lot of people I talk to, they struggle with this, and I'll say to them, why don't you ask for help? Why don't you do, and people feel like they're bothering people, or they're putting themselves upon people. And then when I ask them, I said, listen, let me ask you a question. I always ask this question because it's one of those things that it helps you see it in a different way. And the question is, do you help others? If somebody asks you for help, are you happy to help them? And I say, yes, of course. I love to help people. So why don't you ask for help? So if you don't ask for help, you can never receive help. Now, when I'm preparing this book launch and I'm getting this out there, the first thing I did, which by the way, I would not do in the past because I was afraid to do this and I felt unworthy of it. I would never ask for help, but I went out and I emailed all people I knew and I said, listen, I'm sending this book out. I'd love it if you share it with your list. I'd love it if you give me a review. I'll send you an advanced copy. That would be great. And overwhelmingly, people are like, oh yeah, Joe, of course, anytime. Boom, I got all this positivity back. Why? Because I put it out there. So even if it's a small thing, if you need to say, hey, could you do me a favor and get me a soda out of the refrigerator or whatever it is, start there. If it starts small, but if you have problems asking for help, and then you're not gonna be able to receive help. And if you can't do that, I will tell you now, that's gonna also keep you stuck. So you're gonna balance it out, because I'm sure if you're listening to a session like this, you're a person who helps people. So don't forget, ask for and receive help. So final one, number 5. This one, again, very close to my heart. Build your sales process. And this is something that I see over and over again. And I don't mean just with, individual or small entrepreneurs. I am talking about larger companies. I work with corporations that are, 40, 50, $100 million companies. And I go in there and I'll see what they're doing. And their sales process is really not great. And it's pretty broken, but they still do okay and they make a living. But what we want to do is streamline and create a really solid process to take people through so you can take them from the beginning to the end. And this is something that is, again, I see it every single day. I've worked recently, I've worked with somebody who's, in a sales industry, selling a product and doing mortgages. I've also worked with somebody in insurance who was in that same field, and both of them were struggling. And I said, well, what are you doing? Show me how you go through this. And I could see what they were doing. I could see how they didn't have a process. I could see how they were just overloading people with information that they didn't understand. These are all little nuances that we want to do. So I revamped it. I dumbed it down, so to speak, streamlined it with them. And all of a sudden you saw a double and tripling of incomes and it was actually a simple fix, but it's understanding how to do it and building your process and going from point A to point B to point C all the way through to the end is critically important. And you need steps. I call it in my book, steps to the sale. So how do you go from beginning to end? How do I duplicate that process? Because once I duplicate the process, I can teach other people and then really expand my growth because I've got a process that works. So we'll talk about this as we go forward. Like I said, as you get into other work, you'll see how I do this and help people do it. So let's just do a quick kind of overview of these 5 keys. First one is understand what you are selling. Don't forget, know your benefit, identify and remove your unconscious blocks and limiting beliefs, ask for and receive help. Don't forget, do it. Build your sales process, number 5. So those are going to be our 5 keys to success as we go forward. Now, a couple of things I just want to show you some of the feedback I've gotten for this book. One is from my friend Joe Vitale, who became my friend, but he ended up, you may know Joe Vitale from The Secret, and he wrote many books, including Attractor Factor. And he actually wrote the foreword to this book for me, which I was very blessed for that. And he said, this is the only book I've ever seen that seamlessly combines spiritual laws and sales. It was one of those things. I was very, very happy for that. Bob Sullivan, who's a senior VP at a big major corporation, Cablevision, he gave me a great review, loved the book, and talked about how this was something different. We have not seen this before. It's one of those things that we don't normally see in sales. Rob Levin from New York Enterprise Report basically saying here, and I really believe this, the days of the hard sell are over. We're not doing that anymore. We're in a whole different world. And Stacey Francis from Francis Financial, when I met her, she was just getting started. I helped her build her practice. She now is super successful, has a nonprofit to help women become financially secure. And again, from my first conversation with Joe, my practice started to change. It was as if my level of attraction was going up. And again, that was just me helping her get through some of her issues. And she's such a great success story, and I've known her for many years. So one of those things. So a couple of resources I want to give you here. I have a new channel, which is called Spiritual Selling TV. So you go to spiritualselling.tv. It's a YouTube channel. I'm posting new videos here all the time with these concepts and principles to help you in your business and help you go forward as far as wanting to integrate these principles into your business and life. Also, if you want to get the book, there are links at the bottom of this training, and you can go there to do that. Or you can also schedule a business breakthrough session with me. I do not have other trainers because I hold this very close to the work that I do because it involves energy and different things. So I do this. I only work with a limited number of people at a time, but I would love to speak to you if you'd like to have a conversation about your book, about your business, or this book. You can get this book, of course, on Amazon as well. Or if you go to spiritualselling.com, you will see information about the book and about the program. So all that information is there. And also how you can book your session is below here in the video. We'll send you an email for that as well. And again, I want to thank you so much for being open to this and joining me for this webinar. I hope this helped you kind of see things in a different way in this brief snapshot, so that you can move your business forward in a positive way, change your energy, elevate your energy, and also, again, create the life that you want. Paint that picture, create that life that you want to have, create the life that is going to be what you want. You know, some people want to have businesses all over the country and be international. Other people say, you know, I want to do it this way. There is no right or wrong. There is no good or bad. There is no, this is the way you have to do it. And I got a million stories that I can tell you about it, but you know, there are certain people that they want to go big and have this whole big thing. Other people say, no, I don't really want that. I want to be able to, I don't want to go down that road. That's a demanding road, which it is. So you may just want to be, hey, I just want to do it this way, and I want to create success, and I want to leave something behind. And I always look at it this way for myself. What am I leaving behind that could help the world be better? And when you have that kind of energy and you have that kind of focus, you're going to create an incredibly successful business and life for yourself. So thank you so much. Don't forget, like I said, go to spiritualselling.com or click below to get the book or book a session with me. I look forward to helping you create your success and helping you become a spiritual seller. So be blessed. Go out there and make it happen.